Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died. He served in the White House alongside President George W. Bush and played a major role in leading the U.S. into the Iraq War. Cheney was 84 years old. We are told his family was with him when he passed.
And you decide 2025, it is election day. There's some pretty important decisions that voters right here in Arizona are making today.
Irene Snyder joining us live.
Turn before 7 p.m.
Oh, hold on. There's got to be more for Dick Cheney out here. Y'all ain't showing Dick Cheney no love.
Dick Cheney has died. We're learning more information as we do. We will continue to pass that along to you, of course. We just literally got this information a few seconds ago.
He was chief of staff under Gerald Ford. He was former Secretary of Defense under George H.W. Bush. He went on to be vice president for 2 terms with George W. Bush and is considered the conservatives' conservative, a very hardliner, someone extremely competent, and someone who dealt with hard issues in his 30s and has dealt with that his entire life.
They're saying that he died last night at the age of 84, and we just received a statement from his family. Ainsley, you want to read this?
Sure. It says Richard B. Cheney, the 46th Vice President of the United States, died last night, November 3rd, 2025. He was 84 years old. His beloved wife of 61 years, Lynn, his daughters Liz and Mary and other family members were with him as he passed. The former vice president died due to complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease. For decades, Dick Cheney served our nation, including as White House Chief of Staff, Wyoming's Congressman, Secretary of Defense, and Vice President of the United States. Dick Cheney was a great and good man who taught his children and grandchildren to love our country and to live lives of courage, honor, love, kindness, and fly fishing. We are grateful beyond measure for all Dick Cheney did for our country, and we are blessed beyond measure to have loved and been loved by this noble giant of a man.
So he was somebody who comes to mind with the Persian Gulf War. I remember him combining with the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Colin Powell, as Secretary of Defense. And it was the first time we had substantial military action, really, since Vietnam. And he was able to put together a brilliant strategy of coming up through taking Kuwait back with over 500,000 troops and going right through and stopping short of taking Baghdad, because that was the mandate forward. He was somebody that could withstand a great deal of criticism, be unflappable under pressure. He was a perfect Sunday show because he was able to defend whether it was President George H.W. Bush or George W. Bush in controversial times.
Yeah, Brian, and I think we have to talk about the elephant in the room is with him being side by side with former President Bush during 9/11 in Afghanistan and the wars there, and because he was known as a tactician as well, a big loss for the country as well, dedicated his life to public service and was known as a hawk on the Republican side of the aisle.
All right, so let me give my thoughts. First of all, condolences to the family. You know, I always like to make sure that I extend grace over to the family. Are we past the pleasantries? Can we get to the other side of this conversation now? You know, I'm a Republican, former Democrat, used to be liberal time, raised to be liberal, although we had conservative values, broke away from the Democrat plantation, and I'm a staunch conservative and Republican. Can we get past the pleasantries and get to the real? Let me preface this by saying that I believe that George W. Bush, the second one, and to a larger extent, maybe even the first one, is quite possibly the worst president in my lifetime. Absolutely. See, I was in the infancy of my liberal life when George W., which probably I might have even switched over to being Republican sooner, but I was so brokenhearted at what I had witnessed and the type of environment that I discovered from George W. I mean, honestly, I think that George W. and Dick Cheney, his right-hand man. That's like Trump and Vance, right? You don't really think about JD Vance without thinking about Trump. That's just the way that it is, right? You don't think about Biden unless you also include Obama. That's a team. Biden and Obama is a team. Bush, Cheney, team. Gore, Clinton, team. Vance, we don't even give a fuck about the first vice president that was with Trump. That he was a traitor. We don't claim him. So we gonna just act like he never existed. Vance, Trump, team. We don't think about one without the other. That's why we so hard on Kamala Harris. It's like, oh, you ain't got no loyalty in your blood because you've been riding with Biden. You always associate somebody with somebody that's the vice president unless you somebody like Trump, because Trump came through and he was nobody's second. He was always the first. You know what I'm saying? Trump was always the first. He never needed no hand ups. He just came through like, I'm always gonna be the side. He Floyd Mayweather. Right? So when I think about the Bushes and the Cheneys, do you know what I think about? Poverty, architects of war, death of soldiers unnecessarily. We used to want to, let me tell you what we used to pray for in my church. Lord, rebuke all of this extensive war and send our troops home. Send our troops home. Send our troops home. Send our troops home. That's what I think about when I think about the legacy of Dick Cheney, especially when it's associated with George W. Bush, manufacturer of wars. I'm telling you what I remember as a young man, a 20-something-year-old man living through multiple different layoffs because of manufacturers of war. I got to be objective. And the one thing that I promised you guys is I'm going to be honest about my thoughts. And my loyalty also comes with objectivity because I have to be real. I don't care about Dick Cheney, nor do I care about Bush. I don't care. Listen, God bless them. I hope that their family is okay or whatever. I don't have anything negative to say about them as a person, as an individual, as a father, family. I don't know nothing about that. The only thing I know is what I lived through. The only thing I know is what I lived through. And I lived through, and in hindsight, watching it the same way that I hold Obama accountable for what it is that he did to us and what he really left us with, is the same way that I have to be objective enough to call out a spade. And I'm telling you, I don't look at Biden as a worse president than George W. Bush as a Republican. If that's what you think that's gangster, you got to admit Dick Cheney was a gangster. Nah, I don't look at it like that. I look at it as a coward. Listen, it's easy to send a bunch of people to their death so that y'all can continue to manufacture war. That ain't gangster. Gangster is doing the thing yourself that you really believe in, even if you think that it's wrong. Sometimes you come back and you realize that it was wrong. That ain't gangster. Anybody can sit behind a desk and send a bunch of people and manufacture something and carry out the orders of something that you know that ain't right. That ain't gangster to me. Y'all make these people so much more awesome than they really are. That ain't real to me. I'm sorry. I just have to. I'm so honest about my thoughts. I'm so honest about who I am. I think that George W. Bush and Dick Cheney was the worst presidents in my lifetime. That's just me personally, and that's just what I rock with. Honestly, I think that they the worst people, the worst presidents in my lifetime. And maybe in history over time, because you got to remember, they had 2 terms. And one of the reasons, come on, man, let's be for real. One of the reasons why they got 2 terms, because George W. Bush was on his way out of office. A lot of people don't know that because you wasn't outside at that time. George W. wasn't nobody fucking with George W. after the first term. I'm just keeping it real. Nobody was fucking with George W. and Dick Cheney until we got thrown into that war with 9/11. Man, listen, y'all not paying attention to what I'm saying. 9/11 was the thing that kept Republicans in office at that time because Democrats wasn't extreme. Yes, Democrats and Republicans have always been the parties of war, but 9/11 got him reelected, bro. It ain't have shit to do with him being a good president. It was the fact that we had basically been thrown into war and people hadn't really dissected what 9/11 meant at that time. And so what happened was niggas was getting laid off, buildings was getting crashed into. We went over there and was like, oh man, we don't like Saddam Hussein. Nigga, we put him in power. We put him in power. We've been enabling this dude the whole time. They tried to act like it was weapons of mass destruction. Boy, you couldn't find nothing over there. You wasn't nothing over there. They gave us some pictures, some grainy ass pictures. It was like, yeah, this is it. And we you know what? Because that's possibly, listen, let me tell you something. The turning point for liberalism taking place started, in my opinion, because once we started to figure out, because you got to remember, but prior to that, we was all USA, USA, USA. It didn't matter who was president, whether it was Republican or Democrat. Even if you disagree, it wasn't this extreme, right? And so what happened was we was US because it didn't matter. Because listen, if anybody came against the United States of America, we on your ass. Now, when we went back and we dissected this shit and we was like, wait a minute, what did we go to war for? When did we send our troops to war for? How many niggas done died over there in Iraq and stuff? Then we started questioning it like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Then that's when people start questioning their loyalty. We start letting everybody and their mama come over in this bitch, and now we trying to correct it for the stuff that we seen our fathers enable these motherfuckers to do. You see what I'm saying? So my thoughts on Dick Cheney in particular is that I have zero to say about his family and his well-being. I pray for his family. He lived a long life. He lived a long life, a long, prosperous life. And I did not like his vice presidency. I did not like the president at the time that he also supported. I have always known Dick Cheney for being the man that shot a man in the face, and also for being a man that is a lieutenant for carrying out some of the craziest shit when it came to war. And so I didn't necessarily care for Dick Cheney. I didn't care for President Second Bush or his fucking father. And I still don't care for him. And so that's my thought. So I know that Fox News got to do it because he was a Republican, and so they're going to salute him. But I don't work for nobody. I just pull up on Fox News sometimes when they ask me to. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. That is my thoughts. I hope his family feels well, and I hope that, I hope he got right with God. I'll just say that. I'll leave it like that. Let me set the rules for the chat, because apparently some people don't understand the rules of the chat. no spamming the chat. Okay. If you put the comment up, we seen it the first time. If you're trying to get me to respond to you, it wasn't a good enough comment that I felt like I need to address because the chat is a part of the show. And if it wasn't a good enough comment for me to address, just leave it alone. We seen it the first time. Okay. We seen it the first time. All right. All right. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We seen it the first time. You don't have to copy and paste it 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7 times. I seen it. I seen it. It wasn't worth responding to. We're moving on to the next conversation. All right. All right. Good job. Cause people be wanting me. You know what it is? People want controversy. Like people be wanting me to say, "Oh, I don't like this person. Or I don't like that person." 9 times out of 10, if I don't necessarily agree or care for a person, I don't watch them. I don't watch people reaction to them. I don't mention their name because I don't give visibility to people that I absolutely think is disrespectful and egregious. And so I'm not giving it no energy. You know what I'm saying? So if I really, really don't like you, I don't mention you. If I disagree with you or I disagree with something that you said on the internet, we'll review it. But if I really don't like you as a person, then I don't interact with that type of nonsense. You know what I'm saying? So I know y'all want, it to be beef and all of this stuff. I just don't care. I don't care for people that I don't care about. I don't care I don't watch the content of the people that I don't care about. So even when people bring stuff to me, it's like you bringing stuff to me that I wasn't aware of. That's how I move. We got motion. We don't need nobody to do what we do over here.